You're listening to New England Real Estate Journal Radio with Rick Kaplan, New England source for commercial real estate news. This is New England Real Estate Journal Radio on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
Welcome to the New England Real Estate Journal Radio Show. I'm Rick Kaplan with my co-host Eric Wilson, who's finally here.
Finally back.
Yeah, Eric's
better than ever, always.
Eric's been out for a little while, but we're glad to see you back. You're feeling better?
I'm sure the radio show's glad to see me back, too.
Well,
yes, I'm feeling much better, thank you.
They would rather listen to you. They don't
of course.
Really see you.
And people pay for that. Can you believe it?
We have in our studio today is Jon Ciffolillo, the principal of Greenscape Land Design, with Chris Connors, branch manager, and Hans Wentrup, business development. And they'll be in our next segment. We'll be doing an interview with them. And our show today is brought to you by none other than the New England Real Estate Journal, bringing together the commercial real estate industry for over 50 years. Find us at NEREJ.com. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor for the show, call 800-654-4993 or email us at radio@nerej.com. Again, that's 800-654-4993 or email radio@nerej.com. And Eric, so seeing how you've been out of the office for a little while and not on the shows, what have you been doing besides being sick?
Living life. No, I did a class 2 weeks ago for NEMA, the Affordable Housing Association. So I couldn't do that. They do all their classes on Wednesdays. So luckily our show is moving to Monday tapings, so I'll never miss another one. Other than being sick and hungover.
Yeah, I know. After a weekend,
reasons.
after a long weekend, I can see you not being around on Mondays.
That's because in our industry, there's networking weekends. And that's all I do.
Well, networking, that's business, not supposed to be out drinking all night. That's
anyone who's done business knows that's the exact formula. I'm not speaking out of, what do they call that? Speaking out of whatever?
Out of turn?
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, that's just the way it is. You get a couple drinks. I mean, we're not signing contracts because that would be void, but everything else is good. The relationship is furtherly nurtured with a nice nectar.
So true, Eric. I was skiing this past weekend.
I saw you in your jeans.
Yeah, what's that?
You were looking like Lindsey Vonn coming down there. We had a big smile on the camera.
I don't have to dress up in any of those fancy ski suits. I can go like a regular person.
I thought there was a kid coming down behind you on a bike screaming he wanted his $2. Any reference? Got it?
No.
Oh, come on. Better Off Dead. John Cusack, one of the greats, back with the Brat Pack. Remember them? With, what was it, John Hughes?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm too old for that. I don't remember those.
Well, there was today's rant from Eric as I drifted off down to 1984.
Yeah, I guess you did.
Yeah, so skiing was good. You've done skiing back-to-back weeks. You went with Iram, too.
Yeah.
Actually, Hans was there.
Hey, that's right. Hans was at the ski trip. Yeah.
We saw the video on iram.org. They sent out the video of everybody that was skiing. It seemed like you had quite a crew and also quite a few nectars on your table.
Yeah. No, we had a couple of drinks, if I remember correctly.
Just a couple. And look at the relationship. Now they're on the radio.
That's right.
Told you it works.
And no, you can't expense the drinks.
No.
Oh, you can't?
Oh.
We're going to have to cut that out because...
Don't let our boss know.
Yeah, we've been doing that.
Well, only if it nurtures the relationship.
Well, while you were out, we had the people from the downtown North Hartford, Connecticut area.
Yeah, Nodo.
No,
Nodo?
Oh,
is it
Dono?
Dono.
Yeah, Hartford Downtown North District is, they're trying to redevelop the area, and they're going to have a segment every month for the next 3 months going on.
Revitalize the area?
Revitalize.
Nice. Just wanted to make sure you got it. You got it.
They're putting together...
Hey, listen, just because I wasn't on the show last week doesn't mean I didn't happen to watch it.
Hey, they're putting on a blooper edition of
we
the
would
show.
put on a blooper edition, yet we tend to let the bloopers go.
And they pick on everything I say. Every time I screw up anything, that's...
and we're always like, hey, should we retake? Rick's like, let it fly.
Go for it.
Just go with it. The crowd loves it.
That's right. I break it up a little,
Yeah, exactly. People are like, did he just say what? Revitalize? What does Revitalize in the district do?
Well, North Hartford, Connecticut. If you're a developer or an investor and you want to get into that area, this is the time to do it because they're going revitalize.
Yes.
See, I know that word really good right now.
Well, now we do. We watched it 100 times.
They want to bring in some great developers to redo that whole area of North Hartford. The city has an ambitious $325 million vision for the part of town, and the city of Hartford was split when I think it's 84 or 87, went through the interstate.
Route 84, yeah.
And it split right down the middle of the city. So the North Hartford has really never got the attention that it deserves. So they're going to start putting in apartments, retail. They're going to put in parks. So you might even want to get into that with Greenscape.
Beautiful.
You know?
Yeah, bring it on.
But they are now going to be on once a month, and we'll talk a little bit about what's going on and the progress they're having over there as well.
Nice.
And we have March 20th, we have a big event coming up at Mr. Sid in Newton.
You do?
That the New England Real Estate Journal, Cocktails and Conversation, is putting on. If anyone's interested in attending that, that's March 20th. And you can contact us at radio@nerej.com, and we can send you out the invite so you can register. And I think, what else we have?
Coming up? There's a lot coming up.
Well, there's lots of things happening.
We have. I'm at the March 20th. I'll actually be at the IREM tour of Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, so if you want to attend one of our events and you don't want to see Eric, this is the perfect one.
This is the perfect one to be at. And then April 3rd.
Wait. One of the other important parts I have to mention about our event that's March 20th.
Sure, I wasn't speaking.
It's
I'm just kidding.
It's an open bar.
Oh yeah, it is. It's free. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we figured we could have the open bar because
that's because certain people can't expense it.
Because Eric, and we figured you weren't going to be there,
right?
So we can afford to have the open bar.
Well, I'm not that outlandish. I'm a large person. A couple drinks doesn't do anything to me. But I'll be doing April 3rd. We'll be doing the Massachusetts State Tour with IREM as well, and then May 8th we'll do New Hampshire. I know the MEMA tour is coming up. Running for Row, fundraiser for Roseanne Sedoya, put on by Service Master by Gilmore, is April 5th.
Yes, now they changed the location.
They did change the location from Foxborough to Norwood.
Norwood.
Can I give you the exact? I probably could. Let me pull it up.
Well, that's all right. If someone wants the information, they can contact us at radio@nerej.com. We can get you the information.
They went to the Tiffany Ballroom at 4 Point Sheridan in Norwood.
Oh, okay. That's right on Route 1.
And I also... March 27th is the big non-gala put on by Building Impact. You can check that out. Follow them at Building Impact. They're doing basically coming in and showing a charity workshop that buildings can bring in these type of this organization to run a charity, for them in their lobby and get all the tenants involved and things like that. So that's really cool. That's coming up March 27th.
All right. Well, we're going to go to a break. And when we come back, we're going to start our interview with Jon Ciffolillo, the principal of Greenscape Land Design, Chris Connors, the branch manager, and Hans Wentrup, business development. And we're looking forward to that interview. But right now, we're going to go to a break. And the show is brought to you by the New England Real Estate Journal, bringing together the commercial real estate industry for over 50 years. Find us at NEREJ.com. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor for the show, call 800-654-4993 or email us at radio@nerej.com. Again, that's 800-654-4993 or email radio@nerej.com. And we'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
The next level in commercial real estate. This is New England Real Estate Radio on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
And we're back on New England Real Estate Journal Radio. I'm Rick Kaplan with my co-host Eric Wilson. And, it's good to have him back because no one was making fun of him for a couple of weeks. And now Eric's back. And
really?
He can
no one?
He can pick
I can't imagine that.
But this part of our interview is brought to you by Command Security Corporation, is the nation's most trusted and experienced provider of affordable contract security services. Command Security Corporations offers nationwide and operations at numerous major international airports. They provide complete, customized, and cost-effective security solutions for industries, businesses, institutions, and organizations of all sizes. To find out To find out, you see, I already screwed up. To find out more how Command Security Corporation can solve your security needs, contact John Dunleavy at 800-791-9102 or go to commandsecurity.com. That's John Dunleavy at 800-791-9102 or go to commandsecurity.com. And we have with us in the studio Jon Ciffolillo and Chris Connors and Hans Wenthrop of Greenscape Land Design, and we're going to talk a little bit about land design, I would think. Wouldn't that make more sense?
Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Hello. How you doing?
Good. So I'm not sure which one of you want to start first, but, we'd like to find out a little bit what Greenscape is all about. What do we do at Greenscape?
I can start things off. Greenscape, we were incorporated in 1987, and basically design, build, landscape firm, and that's why thus the name. Over the last 26 years, we've evolved into a commercial management company, commercial landscape management company, and a plan and spec landscape construction company. We do that out of 5 different branches in 3 different states. And Chris manages the branch in Bellingham, which specializes in the commercial maintenance, and I think that's what we're here to talk mostly about.
Nice.
Well, we can talk about all of them, unless there's one that you favor over the other.
What does commercial maintenance make up of? Does that include snow plowing? It's year round, I assume.
Yes, for the most part. I mean, it's you have your small office parks, large office parks, big box, retail stores. HOAs, homeowner associations, and condo associations. It handles everything from the start of the season, spring cleanups through your general maintenance, fall cleanups, and then of course the snow plowing as well.
What about seasonals? You guys do like seasonal plantings, flowers, things like that they go in spring, and then there's some in the fall, things like that?
Absolutely. That's
nice.
a large part of our program.
Right.
And what about irrigation, things like that?
Yes, we have a full-service irrigation techs. We have full install crews that also are with the partners of the construction crew, so for large-scale irrigation installs, but we also maintain and troubleshoot irrigation systems.
Now, you also said land planning. Was it land planning?
Landscape development. Where we, I'm guessing that most of your listeners here probably know somebody that does landscaping, and when we try to separate ourselves is how we go about the business of landscaping. We try to encompass any services that a commercial client might need on their grounds. You had mentioned snow plowing, flower planting. We do a lot more than just mowing lawns. We try to manage the whole process and integrate the whole process so that your snow plowing is very, very much related to, believe it or not, your spring cleanup.
Right.
There's a lot of places where they affect each other.
Right.
And we try to manage the whole process from the top down. So,
now, I always wonder when you someone now you say landscape development.
Land design.
Land design. So when you design let's say an office building, the outside area, when you do that type of work, do you take into consideration like the snow plowing, how you would lay out a parking lot, or how you would lay out a different area of greenery,
Absolutely. I mean, typically we're not taking a new install like that from scratch. That's going to come from an architect or a general contractor. But a lot of the stuff can be value engineered on site, so we have a lot of input and a lot of interaction with that. So as far as putting a wall a certain way or a parking lot or a mulch bed, might not be conducive to heavy snow plow. You always have to keep that in mind. Where are you putting snow? Where are you plowing? And so forth, and just kind of easy line of sight, so there's not too many obstacles.
Now, after this year, with all the snow we've had, I'm sure you guys will have a lot of work ahead of you for the spring, because I got to believe between throwing all that salt and the sand on the driveways and the parking lots, and the plows digging up half the greenery and ruining walls. I mean, that's...
Yeah, Rick, you bring up a good point, and that's what we talk about when we say we like to take the kind of holistic approach where if we're taking care of the winter management, we know what the right amount of sand and salt to put down is, as opposed to just billing for every time you put it down and billing as much as you can. We know that we have some responsibility for the spring and what has to be done with the property in the springtime. As Chris mentioned, snow stockpiling areas, we know where to put snow so that we're not damaging some of the investment that they've made in landscaping over the years. Whereas if you have separate contractors doing those separate services, they care less about who's downstream and what's going to happen.
Right. Do you guys? What's the typical size of the crew? Is it does it range, or is it the typical truck carry 3 to 4?
It's going to range. I mean, you can have a specialized horticultural crew that would consist of probably 2, maybe 3 individuals, up to your large-scale commercial maintenance crew that would consist of about 5 or 6 individuals.
Do you guys also do like tree spraying, fertilization, things like that?
Yes, we have an in-house fertilization techs that are able to put down granular, liquid pesticides, insecticides.
Okay.
Horticultural oils, we tree
and
sprays.
all that has to go. They all have to go through school for all that, don't they? In order to be able to use like fertilizer and things like that.
Yes, everyone has to be Massachusetts certified pesticide license for applicators. We also have in-house a lot of Massachusetts certified landscape professionals, Mass certified horticulturist, and Mass certified arborist. We feel we try to attract the best in the business, and that's what property managers and facility managers should be kind of looking out for when they're looking for, to form a partnership with a company. Number one, you're saying that this person's invested in themselves, they're taking it serious, but they're also, they have a trained eye, and so they have your best interest as far as a budget perspective in mind, but also as far as the functionality of the landscape.
Right.
They're not just going to throw things in the wind.
No, I'm going to ask a dumb question because I'm really good at asking dumb questions.
No dumb questions.
But there's landscapers, horticulturists. Is it horticulturist?
A horticulturist,
yeah,
yes.
And arborists.
Yes.
Now, are these all 3 different things, or is horticulturist cover all of those things?
No, a horticulturist is a little bit. Think of it from 50,000 feet. You're a landscape professional. You can drill down a little bit more, and maybe you're specified on just the horticultural, so more perennial care, plant pruning techniques, and care to that like. And then arborist is obviously mostly paying attention to like large scale trees, ornamentals, and so forth.
Well, that clears it up.
Right, so
I guess
you got the big picture, and then you drill down to the smaller, smaller, more
specialty fields within the field.
Right. So horticulturist is like the whole picture, and everything falls under it.
No, I would say a horticulturist would be a little bit more of a specialty
like
field.
Plants, flowers, small bushes, barberry bushes, things like that. That's more horticulturist. Arborist is your oaks, elms, things like that. When they spray for
so,
bugs.
Rick, do you mind if we just talk to Eric for a little bit? Because he clearly has better questions. So,
but he comes from a landscaping background.
So that's the reason I know
come
any
from
of this stuff.
hiring a landscaper.
My next question was going to be like hedges and things like that. Do you guys, trim that? And also the sand, do you guys use like power picker-uppers, like, the power brooms to push those into things, or is there...
Yes, we have power brooms, both with the bristle and also with like the rubber flaps.
Oh, so that's like that's a
corners.
That's a big day for like spring cleanup. That's a full day for a
Right,
crew.
right.
That's why I was asking what the size of the crew is, because when you have all those things, you might have to go back a second day because you trim the hedges and make it look pretty. Do you guys do any Edward Scissorhand type stuff, like the wave down in front of buildings?
They refer to it as topiary.
Okay, yeah. Do you guys do any of that
We
stuff?
prefer not to.
All right,
we
all right.
prefer not to.
Not cone shaved out in front and
No.
make it look like it's its own house as you enter?
No.
I agree. I wouldn't do it either. I was
This is all foreign language to me. You guys,
Rick, English is a foreign language too.
Eric, you bring up a good point because I think people are used to seeing out in the general public, especially in the springtime, these massive crews of semi-qualified people out doing these what you called spring cleanups. We found over the years that if we can, get the right specialized equipment to do the work, have the certified and specialty employees. We got far fewer people out there doing the work. They're using more specific equipment designed for what they're doing. We can get it done in what you said. They're there all day.
Right.
We probably get it done in probably 30% less time than the we'll call the old-fashioned way, where you got all those people out there.
The
and
manpower.
and all those potential mistakes ready to happen.
Right.
So.
Yeah, you see them all the time, like you said, like the pickup trucks and 20 guys rolling out, dragging tops across. You're like, man.
And you probably
not
saw most
efficient.
of them the night before, too.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly. Not very
I like
efficient.
to say work smart, not hard, if you can. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Use the right tool for the right job.
But now, aren't there a lot more restrictions on times you can do certain jobs? You know, you can't do it between. You have to start by 8 o'clock. You're not 7. You know, you got to finish by 5. You're not.
Yeah, right. So certain jobs will have specifications on when you can start. Most of our HOAs or multi-unit condos, you know, you don't want to be in a residential or semi-residential site before 8 a.m. Commercial sites are usually fine anytime 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. We do have some sites that ask, you know, maybe weekend work or, you know, before or after a certain time frame. But that's in our best interest too, because we're not, you know, we're trying to mitigate damage that we do to a property. You know, nobody wants to have accidents. So, you know, you take all those things into consideration when you're setting out the crew. You know, there are some other bans when you get into Boston, no using backpack blowers, you know, from the months of, I believe it's May through September. You know, so that adds another little element to getting some of those jobs.
That was my favorite tool. That's like the best tool there is. That's like the landscaper's hammer for like the carpenter. Like this,
you know,
just
that's
get
the
that
training
in,
wheels for
you
everybody.
just get
Just throw
that
it
right
on,
in the
right.
corner. It's a quick pickup.
Yeah, but that's strange because this year with the light snow, I mean, a tool like that would probably be perfect to just blow out the driveway real quick.
Right. Well,
But
so you can
can't
use it during the winter. You're not
Yeah,
able
you
to
can't
use
do it
it
in
in the months
summer.
of May during the summer
when there's like
months,
pollen
from May
and things
through
like that.
September.
It's really because of allergies and pollen and
Noise.
kicking up dust and
Noise pollution.
which is, come on, it's not like you're busting out the wind turbine on them.
Right.
So
But
who
which you
mon- who
could, you know, to
monitors all
stand
that?
on.
The residents, really. I mean, the police are aware of it.
Right.
And in some instances, maybe they'll enforce it if they catch somebody violating it. But the residents will be, you know, they're the keeping out for the neighborhood.
They're the
Mrs. Jones is
watch
looking out her
committee.
window.
Yeah, well, no one wants to
Exactly.
be eating breakfast with, you know, people walking by their windows and things. Dinner, lunch, that's fine, you know, because it's normal life. But
Eggs are running,
breakfast,
they can
come
absorb
on,
things,
man.
right? You don't want
I might be in my
sticking in there.
bathrobe, you know, living life, drinking my coffee, feet up. I don't want to be disturbed.
All right, we don't want to go into too much of your
Of my
personal
morning
activities.
ritual, I
other
just gave you a great
activities.
morning ritual.
Well, we're going to have to go to a break before we hear any more of your
Fantastic.
personal stuff. Our interview is brought to you by Command Security Corporation. It's the nation's most trusted and experienced provider of affordable contract security services. Command Security Corporation offers nationwide and operations at numerous major international airports. They provide complete, customized, and cost-effective security solutions for industries, businesses, institutions, and organizations of all sizes. To find out more how Command Security Corporations can solve your security needs, contact John Dunleavy at 800-791-9102 or go to commandsecurity.com. That's John Dunleavy at 800-791-9102 or go to commandsecurity.com. And we'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
Rick Kaplan and Eric Wilson, right here on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
And we're back on New England Real Estate Journal Radio, and our next segment of the interview is brought to you by New England Restaurant Brokers, recognized leader in the sale of food and liquor businesses for over 30 years. New England Restaurant Brokers' team of restaurant specialists have sold hundreds of food and liquor businesses. If you're looking to buy or sell or develop a food or liquor business, call New England Restaurant Brokers at 617-721-9655 or go to NEREJRadio.com. Again, that's New England Restaurant Brokers at 617-721-9655 or email them at NERB@Comcast.net. That's NERB@Comcast.net. And we have in the studio with us is Jon Ciffolillo and Chris Connors and Hans Wenthrop of Greenscape Land Design. And we're talking a little bit about horticulturalists, or landscapers, or arborists.
Arbitrist, jeez. So the second segment, we're going to go into the other side, which is kind of the energy efficiency, the green stuff. Are you guys doing developing green roofs? Is there any other thing you're doing that maybe, you know, fertilizers that's all organic, things like that?
Well, yeah, you kind of hit on two completely opposite sides of the
I know.
spectrum
I
there.
opened it up for you guys.
So
You got 10 minutes. Go.
That you did. But just to kind of reiterate what we talked about a little bit earlier, the way our business is built, we get heavily involved in the installation side, where we actually construct these projects, and then we go ahead and we maintain them long term. When you mention green roofs, the misconception is green roofs is a new concept. It's been done in Europe for ages. Most buildings have green roofs on them in Europe, and it's just come into this area recently. When I say recently, I say over probably the past 10 years, and that's something that we do get heavily involved in. Green roof, by definition, is really just it's landscaping on the roof. It's broken down into a couple different categories. One is extensive green roofs, which is typically going to be a couple inches of, I'll call it medium, but that's just a fancy word for lightweight soils, with maybe some sedum or some ground cover on there. And then it goes right up to what's called the intensive systems, which can be upwards of a couple of feet of soil and trees actually planted on the roofs. And there's everything in between there. So we try to get involved with the building owners early on, try to understand what their motivation is and what they're trying to accomplish, whether it be sustainability or anything, and then we will design and install a roof based on that. And again, just like we talked about with the snow plowing, any roof design or roof installation has the long-term care and the costs of maintaining that in mind while we're designing it and installing it.
Okay, one question about the actual design of it. I always think about this when I see pictures of this. Is there specific ways to drain it? Like, because you think about if rain comes down, it gets in the soil, and now it's on the roof. Do you guys do it like a slope so drainage goes off the side of the roof?
Yeah,
is it
one of the
incorporated in the
main
same thing?
Design concepts around green roofs, and this is why it was so big in Europe, was it helps control runoff. They need a lot less area on a property for things like detention basins and so forth. So part of its function is to slow down the water flow. Okay. And it does that depending upon what system you're installing. Basically, the common thread is it has a drainage layer at the bottom, which is either going to be stone. Yeah. So the water actually makes its way through to the rooftop underneath the system and gets into the roof drain. Right. But it's in theory and in practice, the water is a lot cleaner. It's slowed down. The medium actually retains a lot of the water, so big percentage of the water is actually absorbed and used.
Right, by the actual landscaping itself.
And some of these systems, actually a lot of these system designs, the drainage portion of the system actually has modules in it that actually hold water. They would be sort of like cups. Okay. So half of the water is retained in the cups for future use for the plants. Right. So in that way, functionally it works, but also financially, there's a lot of benefits from doing that.
Now, what about the actual roof? What if there's a leak? What happens at that point?
Well, we start with the assumption that no roof ever leaks, and I'm sure most of your listeners that have anything to do with real estate know that that's the case. So, no, it's a good point because that's what everybody when green roofs started to make their way into this area, that's what everybody was concerned about. Some of the big manufacturers that were heavily involved in Europe came over and they tied their warranties to these systems. Which I think, in hindsight, was a very good idea because it alleviated the concern of these property developers and these property owners. But what nobody really realized, and again, from my opinion, is that it added a lot of unnecessary cost to these roofs, which in turn, I think it made a lot less roofs actually come to reality because they were cost prohibitive. So we've come up with different ways. Our company specifically has come up with different ways where we can install systems and we can extend the warranties to the building owners simply because we know that we're doing it right. And if it's installed properly, there is no damage to the roof.
Now, when you have vegetation up there, now the winter months, what happens with all that vegetation? That must die off until the spring comes.
Well, again, depending upon what system, it has an awful lot to do with the expectation of the owner. In its simplest form, a green roof is actually green probably 30% of the year. In the hot summer months, green roofs are rarely green. They're actually brown. They look like they've died. That's part of the process. They go through the process of desiccation, and then when there's rainfall, sort of like when you used to watch those National Geographic specials where, in the desert, where all of a sudden these things start growing. It rains once in 3 months and everything starts growing.
Right.
It's a very similar system when it comes to the vegetation. So,
but now I also heard of people, companies that have put in the green roofs, also putting in like a vegetable gardens.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of retail, a lot of restaurants, especially in urban environments, are doing just that. They're again, it's what's your motivation? What are you trying to accomplish? You're trying to save space? Are you trying to add space to your building by making an interactive area? Or in the case of some restaurants, like you mentioned, they actually have vegetable gardens. Of course, they're organic vegetable gardens, so they're getting the double benefit. And they can say that their cook steps outside or steps onto the roof and picks the tomatoes for your salad.
Right.
And that,
Now, do they give
or in any of the seasonings too? You could do mint and
herb gardens, yeah.
all your herb gardens. A lot of those, I see a lot of that happens, especially restaurants.
Now, do they give any kind of tax incentive for putting in a green roof?
Those come and go, just like with solar and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Those incentives come and go. Right now, I'm not aware of any. The city of Boston was very friendly towards green roofs. The old mayor was he was very pro green roofs. I don't know any of the political details, but it seemed to me that there was other types of incentives. Maybe they would push certain permitting through a little bit faster if they knew you were going to do something that was appropriate for the environment. Mm-hmm. But I don't know of any actual tax incentives.
What about? Did you guys also install like rain catchers, like water that as I'm trying to think, I know that
cisterns.
Yeah. Do you guys do those systems where the water is just recycled basically through the rainwater that comes through the yard and then it sprinkles back up, and you guys use it in your irrigation systems, things like that?
Yeah, they come as simple as a that old whiskey barrel sitting outside of your house that your gutter drops into.
Right. I actually have one.
Yeah.
But it's filled with whiskey.
But it's got whiskey in it, right. Yeah. And we've done some that were as involved as literally 6 20,000 gallon cisterns buried within the property, that are fed by every roof drain system on the property, and then topped off with wells.
Right.
So they get very, very involved.
One of the other things that I talking about the solar, because a lot of companies are interested in doing solar right now, or the wind turbines, but they're putting them on their properties, and they're probably not the nicest looking things, and you have to do some kind of land or landscaping setup, but you can't disturb the view.
You don't want to block the solar panels, right?
Yeah,
they won't work too well.
That defeats it.
Well,
but do you run into the issues like that?
First of all, I'm not familiar with any tree that I can plant that's going to block out one of those wind turbines. But if I come across one, I'm sure it'll be worth my while to put it in. The interesting thing is you mentioned the solar panels on the roofs. They're actually oftentimes they're very concerned with I guess they refer to it as the ambient temperature around those solar panels can tend to get too hot. And the way that they bring those ambient temperatures down is by actually planting vegetation around the panels.
Right.
So you'll have a combination green roof with solar panels on it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
that's smart.
But so on the ground, when they have a solar panel on the ground, because especially if you're driving down the expressway, there's a whole farm of those solar panels now.
They're still trying to figure it out, I think. We see a lot, again, our construction side. We see a lot of those new solar farms going in, and there are extensive planting packages that go with it, but I'm not sure how functional they are. They'll put, you all know the size of these solar farms, they'll put an earthen berm that runs the whole length of it, and they'll plant 5-foot fir trees on it. And they'll
Right.
say, "See, there's nothing
Right.
there, nothing to see there, right?"
Yeah.
And it's the size of 5 football stadiums.
Right. That's exactly how they do it with their power plants too.
Right.
Like they'll build this ugly looking power plant with all these high tension wires. Then they put pine trees or some kind of tree all around it.
Right.
And you
Like the
can still
Christmas
see
trees.
it.
I actually saw years ago, and I'm not sure if I dreamt it. I'm pretty sure I saw it. They had radio towers that they actually outfitted with pine tree branches.
Yes,
Artificial
I've seen that.
pine tree branches on a radio tower.
Yeah.
Just saw him
And
on the
it
pike
looked
on the way
absolutely
over
ridiculous. So driving down the highway, and I'm saying, what happened to that tree?
Yeah, right.
You know? So,
Well, they do that with cell phone towers.
here. Right.
Yeah,
I
right.
just saw some on the way in.
Yeah.
On the Mass Pike coming
Yeah.
over.
I mean, it doesn't really disguise it.
How
too
was
well.
how was traffic, by the way? With isn't President Obama in town?
oh yeah.
I believe the president's here.
Everything was clear on the way in.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I don't think people stop or they even give them a what do
You mean they
call
shut
it?
down the whole highway for
I
him,
don't
bro?
think they do that for him.
Yeah, they did it for Oprah. They'll do it for him.
Well, she's more important.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't mean to get that. I just wanted to ask about traffic. I wasn't-
You just figured
Yeah, I
out
didn't want to
how,
open up the
You just-
Pandora's box over there.
you just figured out how to shut me up, didn't you?
Yeah, everyone's just like, all right. Wait a minute,
Uh,
politics. You guys
all
just
right.
got a little weird with it.
Well, we know where you stand.
I heard
No,
it.
I don't stand. I just don't. Whatever. So, organic side of energy efficiency. That's going on. Do you guys use organic fertilizers and things like that? And do only what if someone's like, hey, I want you guys, but I don't want anything that's not organic to touch my property.
We do come across that, and
Is that
have-
more toward northern Mass?
you have to be careful with it. But the ultimate, you're not going to get the control in the long run that you would with a manufactured product or a chemical product. We do use organics, especially when you're near certain waterways, some retention basins. Different towns have different ordinance, but as far as a all-out organic lawn care program. They're few and far between. We are seeing a bigger push for them, but again, the reality is you're not getting the control that you need in most instances to kind of sustain that. You want that beautiful, lush lawn. The reality is, without the right type of chemicals and everything being implemented, you're not gonna get that.
Yo, I totally agree that it's definitely unrealistic. But I just told you, hey, I want it.
Incidentally,
I'll sell it to you.
The organic person never get. They don't.
incidentally, it's the same client base that doesn't want you to use blowers.
Right, exactly. I can imagine it's the same. Hey, I don't want
Yeah.
this. This is how I want it. The only way. But I can imagine the fertilizer in the green is. It's going to be very difficult
Well,
to
I
keep it
can-
controlled and
Organic
segmented.
treatment for weeds is hand pulling.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. There's
Exactly,
get the
you know,
crabgrass out.
The donkeys aren't working that
Right.
well.
Yeah. I
Get
agree.
a couple goats or something.
I remember
because I
this.
know
I know.
some cities and towns, a majority of the residential areas are covered with well water.
Correct.
So if you have well water on your property, you have your drinking water is coming from a well,
Which
don't
would be
you-
well water on your property.
Yes, that's a good one.
Well, that's why you need
Breaking
to be
that down
careful.
for us, well, we didn't say
You
well
need to
water.
be careful in a lot of our commercial accounts. We have soil tests, every season that we'll go out and we'll take a couple different test samples, see where the soil's at as far as nitrogen levels, pH levels, phosphorus, and then you're going to adjust the fertilization program to that. You're only supposed to put down a certain amount of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet and so forth. So you do try to adjust the programs as needed. There are many other things that you can do that wind up being cost savings down the road that can also in turn reduce your the overall amount of fertilizer you have to use. So we're very conscious of that. We do, like I said, make the soil test, and we do try to make the adjustments whenever possible. Nobody needs
You ever think about going into politics?
no.
Oh no, man! You run that line very well. Just very this is where it is. It's very good. I mean, you explain the fertilizer deal man, this is what it is. But so you guys are really science behind it too. You take soil samples, you go back. You guys analyze it in house. It's you guys have
No,
guys.
we'll send them out to UMass or there's some other organizations that you can send them out.
Nice.
Engineering, and they give you everything from the the cation ratio, how fast water is
Right.
penetrating and going through your soils, to how much nutrients it needs. pH has a lot to do with it, raising and lowering that, to kind of achieve the.
See, I'm learning an awful lot because I just thought it was a lawnmower, a rake, and Scott's fertilizer. That's all I ever knew about.
Well, that's why you got to be really careful and see what is it that you need. The commercial building owners, oftentimes your warehouse space, they can get away with someone that's just going to come out and mow the lawns. But for the most part, your Class A commercial spaces, they have different expectations. And frankly, it's not by chance that these properties look good. It's not that easy to keep grass green and disease and weed free. It's not it's not that easy to to keep trees pruned so that people aren't taking their eyes out when they're walking down the sidewalk. It really does take a level of expertise. And if a property owner or a manager is asking the right questions, it's very easy to kind of flush these folks out, the ones that know versus the ones that don't know. If it doesn't matter to them, then they can save an awful lot of money.
Right.
And just get somebody that can come and cut their grass like I used to do when I was 14.
Right.
Yeah.
But appearance and location are probably the two prime things when you own a piece of property.
Curb appeal.
Yeah.
Curb appeal.
Right.
Everybody
None
wants
of
the curb
these-
appeal.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it helps them sell the building. But I would say more in line that the atmosphere that when I drive into my parking lot, and if I'm going into the office building, and it looks like crap, I may feel like crap after a certain amount of time. It's going to wear on me going, oh, great, I'm coming here again. I'm going here again. When it looks really good and it's green, it's beaming, and you feel like it's spring every day, that's a great feeling when you
Well,
walk
not
into
just
your
that,
office.
you go into
So every worker's happy.
as a client or a
Right.
customer.
Well, that's what I mean.
you
Not
know.
just that itself. Like, the first appearance is not. Of course, first appearance is everything. We drive in the building. It looks nice. These guys mean business. They take care of themselves, just like you would when we get dressed, just like you, Rick.
Yeah.
But
Stylish.
after a while, when it just has the same effect on people that work in that building who come there every day and see it. You want them going and feeling happy, being comfortable.
And even beyond that, we have a lot of what I consider to be high-end, multi-unit apartment complexes, publicly held companies that'll tell you right out, green is green.
Yeah,
you keep
right.
these green, their only concern truly is occupancy.
Right.
And they've done all the studies. They know that if the property looks good, if it's green, if it's lush, they're going to meet their occupancy goals.
Of course.
And they also can maintain their rent.
Right, exactly.
If a place looks like it's falling apart, people aren't going to pay the top rent.
Right.
Well, we want to go for another break, and when we come back, we'll close out the interview. The interview is brought to you by New England Restaurant Brokers, recognized leader in the sale of food and liquor businesses for over 30 years. New England Restaurant Brokers' team of restaurant specialists have sold hundreds of food and liquor businesses. If you're looking to buy or sell or develop a liquor business, call the New England Restaurant Brokers at 617-721-9655 or go to NEREJRadio.com. Again, that's New England Restaurant Brokers at 617-721-9655 or email NERB@Comcast.net. It's NERB@Comcast.net, and we'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
Rick Kaplan is right here on the Money Matters Radio Network.
And we're back on New England Real Estate Journal Radio, and our close of the interview is brought to you by, do you sell to facility managers, building owners, or property managers? See thousands of these decision makers at the Northeast Buildings and Facility Management Show, June 18th and 19th at the Boston Convention Center. Go to proexpos.com. That's proexpos.com. Or you can contact us at radio@nerej.com. And we're talking with Jon Ciffolillo, principal at Greenscape Land Design. Chris Connors, he's the branch manager at Greenscape. And also Hans Wentrup, he's the business development at Greenscape Land Design. And before we close the interview, we want to find out how someone, if they want to have their property looking beautiful like all the other properties you handle, how would they get in touch with you? How would they locate you? I know you have lots of land branches.
You can go to the website, greenscape.us.com, and there are, depending on the location, we have a branch in Nashua, one in Bellingham, Taunton, Pocasset. And if you have any listeners down in the Virginia market, we also have one in Alexandria. And there should be a local number, so you can find your local branch and set up an appointment to speak to somebody.
Well, before you go on with that, you said something while we were on a break that was pretty impressive, that you had a client in Virginia?
Yes.
That he asked you to follow him down there.
Or she.
Correct.
Or she.
Correct.
So they were so impressed with your services that they wanted you to come to Virginia.
Right. And, we try to form partnerships with most of our clients in that way, where we can provide a service. There's a trust, there's a bond there where they trust us with their book of business, with their money essentially, and know that we're going to do right by them. Certain things come up, the economy's hurting, and they say, hey, we need to make a 5%, 10% discount, break this year. We can take a look at their portfolio, find different ways, get creative, and try to achieve that for them. So I think, that helps form the bond and kind of keeps them engaged with us. And that's what we try to do with all of our clients. This was a fortunate situation where they had a need, and we were able to satisfy that need for them.
So that's pretty impressive, because that's saying to me, if I'm looking for a landscaping company, a landscape design company, I would come to you guys, because if you're following a client all the way down to Virginia, that means that your pricing must be pretty good and your work must be excellent. And
we'd like to think so.
That's what I would get out of that. So.
Our pricing is fair, and at the end of the day, it's always the pricing battle. We all have budgets that we have to live within, and people have constraints, but we think that we are able to bring a certain level of professionalism and education to the table. And if we're able to kind of sit down at the table, talk about people's budgets, and maybe descope the contract and see why maybe we are a little different than this person or that. Usually at the end of the day, we're doing business together.
Have you ever seen the picture of the person who gets a tattoo and then they ask for a dragon and the guy draws like the stick figure on his back of the tattoo? Yeah. That's what I think about when anybody. You get what you pay for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you want the best landscape and you can't be out here, twiddly dinking around, going, oh well, let me cut that one edge, and we don't do that one edge in the back corner. This
champagne appetite beer budget.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. You have to understand. I'm sure you guys go out now. Do you go out and if someone say I call you and I want you to come out and take a look? You guys will go out and take a look at the property, do an assessment. Do you guys do free assessments and things like that?
Yeah, we do. I think the biggest part of what we do is we have to pre-qualify anyone that's contacting us. We need to make sure that what it is that they're looking for, because if they are, in fact, looking just for a low number, oftentimes we can't necessarily meet that low number.
Right.
And that's the challenge that Hans has to deal with, day in and day out. It's really just getting people to pause for a moment and listen to what we're asking. We're not necessarily asking for their business. We're asking for what is it that, what are their expectations? What are they trying to accomplish? Mm-hmm. And Hans is pretty proficient. He could figure out in all of about 5 to 10 minutes over the phone whether or not we're going to be a good fit. And then
right.
we part ways and everything's fine. And if Hans feels that there is a good fit, he may ask and see if he could come in and talk to them for 20 minutes, and really, because there is no set program that works for any one
right.
facility. And we talked a lot about Class A properties and curb appeal. There are significant portfolios that we manage that would not necessarily be considered a Class A property, but it's a Class A business, and their business model, depends upon, like Chris said, budgets and so forth, and we can cater a program around what their needs are.
Right.
And as long as we're talking about something with enough scalability, we can usually pull it off.
And since you guys said you mentioned off all of your locations, Nashua, Bellingham, Taunton, Pocasset, and Virginia, mm-hmm. what's the range that you'll go from there? Is it okay? I'm in Taunton, so you'll go 50 miles off. You're going to like Worcester. Which office goes? What if there's places that fall in overlap areas? Which office chooses, or just whoever gets called?
The reason why we do the branch model is just that, because we mm-hmm. found that we cannot be competitive I think the magic number is roughly 40 to 60 mile radius around any given branch.
Okay.
And that's actually, with the exception of Virginia, that's how we've expanded. We take a look at our book of business and we say, what properties could we be servicing more efficiently if we were closer? And then we'll literally carve off a chunk of business, plant the branch there, put someone like Chris to manage that branch. And when we say manage, he's doing far more than just managing the books of that business. He is literally the business owner in Bellingham.
Right.
He works very closely with Hans. They develop their own book of business, and they develop their own programs. And so...
Wow.
So you have a set way of how you want to do business. You give them the plan. They run it as if it's their own business, but it's to your formula.
Yeah. The only... When I hear you say it, it sounds... more like a franchise type of setup, but it's not. We're privately owned. Myself and my brother own the business. People like Chris have been with us for quite some time. They start off in different positions. They start off getting their certifications in other areas, and by the time we're ready to take that branch manager, take him out of what we consider our farm system, put him out in charge of a branch, he knows exactly what we're looking for. He doesn't have to call the headquarters and say, hey, what should I do about this? He knows what the objectives are. He knows what the guidelines are. He knows how much rope he has, and he goes about his business.
Nice.
So you have basically a crew in each one of these branches, more or less.
Depending upon the size of the branch, we have upwards of 15, 20 crews at each branch.
Okay. So when you decided to, where was the original?
Taunton.
So it started in Taunton, and then you started having business that was 50 miles away, and you started to say, okay, well, we need to figure out circumference that, put someone dead center there to efficiently service those, and that's how you picked Bellingham. That's how you was there a lot of business in Bellingham, or you just picked Bellingham because that was a central location for that book of business that was up there?
I'll let Chris take that one.
Well, I guess the second move was Nashua.
Okay.
And then my first location was in Hopkinton, which is kind of, I'm filling in the windshield time between Taunton and Nashua, so it makes sense. The Bellingham location, I'm sure your listeners know, it's tough to find good commercial space out there that kind of suits our needs. You'd be surprised how much space you take up, when you start laying out all the trucks and the trailers and the bins for various materials and office space.
Right.
So Bellingham just was fairly close in proximity to where we wanted to be, and it still kind of achieves, what we were looking for as far as reducing travel time, and it just suited the needs of, what the branch needs to function.
And how long has that branch been open?
Going into our second year in Bellingham.
Nice.
So now if they wanted to get a hold of you, they contact... they'd probably contact Hans, right? He's a business development guy.
Sure.
This is the only time Hans has ever been quiet, I can imagine.
I would say that, the website, again, it does direct. It all depends on what area you are, what area you're in the state or other states that we service. And you can just find the local branch. There's a phone number on there, and call them direct. There is the main office number, which is 508-977-9100. And somebody would be gladly to point you in the right direction from there.
Well, that's great.
Nice.
I learned an awful lot about landscaping.
He definitely did.
I'm still not going to do it. I'm still
know,
not going to cut my own lawn. But
it's funny. He'll never look at the building again the same. Once you do something, then you'll start picking out buildings. Like, oh, look at that tree. I'll have to call Jon Ciffolillo just because he said it right. Yeah. He'll say that forever. We really appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks, Hans. Thanks, John. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us on, guys.
And that was Greenscape Land Design. And if you want your building to look beautiful, you want that gorgeous landscaping, contact Greenscape Land Design. Again, the website is what?
Greenscape, www.greenscape.us.com, and the main line is 508-977-9100.
Great,
nice.
Thank you. And our interviews today were brought to you by, do you sell to facility managers, building owners, or property managers? See thousands of these decision makers at the Northeast Building and Facilities Management Show, June 18th and 19th at the Boston Convention Center. Go to proexpos.com. That's proexpos.com, or contact us at radio@nerej.com.
Nice. And you'll see Greenscape
there. Greenscape will be there.
Right.
And we'll be right back at Money Matters Radio Network.
It's New England Real Estate Journal Radio on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com. Your home for commercial real estate news. It's New England Real Estate Journal Radio on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
And we're back on New England Real Estate Journal Radio. I'm Rick Kaplan with my co-host Eric Wilson, and we're coming to the close of our show for today, and it's brought to you by the New England Real Estate Journal, bringing together the commercial real estate industry for over 50 years. Find us at NEREJ.com. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor for the show, call 800-654-4993 or email us at radio@nerej.com. Again, that's 800-654-4993 or email radio@nerej.com. And
we'd like to first say send our condolences out from the New England Real Estate Journal to Carl Barron and the Barron family, who passed away on February 16th at the age of 97. Carl was a great friend of our founder, Roland Hopkins, and as well as his son. He was a mentor to Stephen. So, he'll be missed, and our condolences to him.
We also like to announce that the BJ's Wholesale Club was just sold for $26.5 million. Cushman & Wakefield was the broker on the deal. It was sold to Inland Real Estate Acquisitions, Inc.
Wow.
Also, the company.
Jones Lang LaSalle unveiled a new video to, mark their change to their world mark logo of JLL. They're an international business. I'm sure everyone who listens to our show is familiar with JLL, which is formerly known as Jones Lang LaSalle. If you have a chance, check out that video. It's really cool, about 45 seconds. Don't forget to check out the Med Ed Facilities free admission pass that we gave out in this week's New England Real Estate Journal. We'd like to see you at this show for the Healthcare and Educational Facilities Design and Construction. That show is, I believe, April 1st and April 2nd, Tuesday and Wednesday. We have March 27th, the Big Non-Gala with Building Impacts. It's a great thing, a great workshop to come out and take a look at all the charity work that goes on for the year. I know we have March 20th, the New England Real Estate Journal Cocktails and Conversations event, hosted by Mr. Sid's, free, open bar for those that want to come and attend, a couple appetizers, and a great networking event. I know March 20th, if you're with IREM, they'll be up in Anheuser-Busch doing the tour there.
And then you have the HELP conference that's going to be April 7th and 8th.
Oh, right,
at
right.
the Seaport Waterfront Hotel in Boston.
Yeah.
They're taking early registrations.
Fantastic.
If you want to go to that, we'd love to see you there.
And last, don't forget the Running for Roe. Roseanne Sedoya, they're doing a great event put on by Service Master by Gilmore out in Norwood. Go by SVG Gilmore. Or Gilmore.com, and you can find more information there.
Yeah, and I want to thank our sponsors, Command Security Corporations, New England Restaurant Brokers, the NEBFM trade show.
Yep.
And also our DONO, downtown North Hartford, Connecticut, who is also a sponsor of our show. And also Jon Ciffolillo, Chris Connors, and Hans Wentrup of Greenscape Land Design for coming in and doing the interview with us.
It was fantastic.
And the show has been brought to you by the New England Real Estate Journal, bringing together the commercial real estate industry for over 50 years. Find us at NEREJ.com. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor for the show, call 800-654-4993 or email us at radio@NEREJ.com. Again, that's 800-654-4993 or email radio@nerej.com. And I think this deal is done.